Here's Daf Yom Yerushalmi Daf Chaf Aleph in the article Oz V'Hadar edition, and we got up yesterday to Halacha Daled, which is the middle of Chaf Aleph from Aleph. In the Vilna edition, should be Yud Aleph. Let's check it out. Yes, Halacha Daled. Hanachtomim Lochi B'Osam Chacham Lafrish El Kedei Chumas Meiser B'Chala. The bakers were only required because they have a relatively small profit margin, so therefore they were only required to set aside the Chumas Meiser and Chala. The okay, that's the next line. But that's only the bakers. The individual storekeepers are not allowed to sell Demai. Anybody who gives in a large measure, like wholesalers and people who sell grain. So the Maram Yofe finishes what's missing in the Mishnah. Maram Yofei, not Maram Yofe. Maram Yofei Yud Pei Mem. Maybe it's Yofei Mareh. Anyway, so he says B'chol mashpim mida gasa gam b'rishon mikos edmai elu hein am mashpim mida gasa who are mashpim mida gasa. He says kigon goes he does mokrei tvutzvua. So he takes and that he says that is lashon in the Mishnah, the Mishnais, and in the Bavli. So that he's saying that they also have a leniency that they're allowed to sell the mine. The Pnei Moshe explains, going back to Nachtomim, Halochin Tfur Me'amoritz Lochi B'osar Chachamim Lafrish Mi'admai Ela Kedei Trumas Meiser Shir Echad Mimeo Kedei Shir Chala. Of course, they're baking the bread. Havelo Meiser Sheni. They didn't have to take a Meiser Sheni and redeem it. Because Chacham Aleim B'Dovazem Mishum Shishot Melech B'Yushalayim, because the policemen of the king of Yerushalayim, Yechovtim Masam would beat them. V'Omelem Mechub B'Zol tell them to sell at a cheap rate. So therefore, the profit margin is lower. Low. He trichum b'shafrishim ma'aser sheni b'dmai, v'lo sochel b'Yushalayim. They didn't make them to take a ma'aser sheni from Dmai and go eat Yerushalayim. The kohen and shafrish ma'aser sheni. The person who buys it to take a ma'aser sheni. Davke mochim b'chanusam, pesach chanusam, kedar gemara, and that's specifically they will say when they sell in the bakery. I should point out that in Yerushalayim you can't redeem ma'aser sheni. So it would be if it's Mishnah's on account of what's happening in Yerushalayim, it's a particular kula because it's a particular benefit for the Nachdomim because Ma'aser Sheni inside Yerushalayim can't be redeemed; it has to be eaten. So therefore, if it's outside Yerushalayim, it wouldn't be so gefährlich. They can redeem it on Shavuot Pruta. But in Yerushalayim, it's very difficult. Okay, so Gemara says, Tamatin, we learned over there. Halokech min Nachdom, Keitzenu Maser. Somebody who purchases a nachdom, how does he take a meiser? So Pnei Moshe says, Tamatin the common Reish Perek K. Later on, we're going to learn Halokech min nachdom Keitzenu Maser. No to Kedei Trumas Meiser b'Chala. So hey, it says that the buyer has to take off Trumas and Meiser b'Chala, not the baker, because after the Daitach and the Gemara assumes I Tate Mas Nisan that the Mishnah and the Mishnah Perek K b'Chada Gavna Meiri. They're talking about the same scenario. Nachdom Amoritz, and the baker is an Amoritz. Askina is the topic. Parach Hacha b'Masnisin, and therefore it's asking here from that Mishnah. Okay, so Tamini Alokech min Nachdom u'keitzu Maser Hachat Omer Alokech Mafrish. There you say the buyer takes it off. Parakeh. That again, Hacha is said Hacha twice here, so it's not typical about Yerushalmi where it's reversed. But Hacha Melokech Mafresh, you say the buyer takes off. Hacha in our Mishnah, Atam Nachdom Mafresh. So there's Mei Moshe. Atam Melokech, who starts Shafresh? Hacha Mas Nisan, Atam Nachdom Mafresh. Don't have to read that Mei Moshe. But in any event, so Rabbi Yonah Amar Yispag and Rabbi Lezer Rabbi Yochanan. So Machlokes Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Lezer Rabbi Yochanan. So the Moshe says in this and how to resolve the contradiction. Chad Omar once said, "Kam b'osa b'tara, kam b'osa b'tuma." It depends if he's the nachdom is makbid on tuma and tara or not. So Moshe explains, "Klomar lo idim idim nachdom oretz." They're both the nachdom is not oretz. Mesilu chamayre b'shenosin gavol chaver takin lo yisoso. He gives it to a kneader, Kneader, to fix the dough. Shavisha challah b'tara, to take off the challah b'tara. Came in Torah kule high, since he's going to such an extent. Samchin amilei sheitakim yavish chumas u'maiser. We rely on him to take off chumas maiser as well. Masis lasa ma'ay there said about b'sheinu chashish tara. He doesn't care about tara. Came also betuma. He makes everything betuma. Therefore, we can't trust him. And the buyer has to take off also the chal and shumas meiser. The other opinion is that kan mamida daka v'kan mamida gaso. So the Moshe says vida chamad olam ida vida menachtum chaver. They're both talking about menachtum chaver. V'kan masnisen here in the Mishnah b'mocher b'mida daka. It's talking about where he sells in a it's talking about where he sells in a small measure, a fine measure. V'osem ein Hashem limkor esa demai. They're not allowed to sell demai k'nan b'masnisen. That's why it's the fix. Masis awesome, but mocher midagasa. It's like the end of the Mishnah. Over here, mashmir midagasa. Since they sell in midagasa, the profit margin is less. Therefore, that's why they allowed them to sell demai, and the buyer beware. We don't know which resolution was stated by which of these Amorim, Rebbe Lezer, and Rabbanon. Well, Rabbi Yochanan Taros, since Rabbi Yochanan says on account of Taros, this is the beginning of Parakeh. It says that Rabbi Yochanan says Kambos Atar Kam Beish Enos Betara. So that's the chiluk going Rabbi Yochanan. The inference is, of course, Rabbi Lezer is the one who says has to do mida gasa mida daka. Rabbi Yochanan said Rabbi Lezer do amar kam mida daka kam mida gasa. Kasha Rabbi Yochanan b'ose b'mida daka b'ose b'tara yafish alakol. So Moshe explains. My the time over here by ose b'tara came yafish alakol. Kumashavish kam ma'aser sheni. Ma'avish kim. Ma'aser chumas ma'aser same story, but Tara, let's make take a ma'aser sheni as well. So bedinu aya sholef rosh klum. So the Gemara answers really he shouldn't have to mavrish anything. Now the Mechal Amayim, Yerushalmi says that this is the end of the first teretz. In other words, really you shouldn't mechayiv the nachlim at all. If we're mechayiv in the take, it's never take of chumas ma'aser and challah. And then we have another answer. She'ein mosrim v'adai la'amoritz. That if you're going to make that nachdom take on ma'aser sheni, so then he's not going to bother to take it to Yerushalmi. True, it's Demai. Nevertheless, it is it's similar to the reason. And here, of course, it's a similar reason that you don't give vade to the Amoritz. You don't give vade to the Amoritz because you're not afraid it's not going to take the Ma'aser Sheni to Yerushalmi. So if you don't give the Demai here, you don't trust you don't tell the Nachdom, take off the Ma'aser Sheni from the Demai here because we don't trust him actually afterwards take it to Yerushalmi or eat it in Yerushalmi or any Yerushalmi. So therefore, we didn't put the burden upon him. Okay, so. Again, the Mechamai says two answers. So therefore, you may take a minimum, and Shemos by the words, and also we don't make take a vadai because we don't trust him. So also here we don't make the nachdom take a ma'aser sheni from the mic. But the conventional way to read it perhaps would be there's one teretz. Bedinu shalef rish klum. Really, you shouldn't have to take off anything. Shem mosim body lamoretz. And of course, the answer would be like the second answer of the Meichel Hamayim, that we shouldn't make him take off anything because we're not most of my lamoretz, but nevertheless, we required him to do chumas and ma'aser challah. B'kasha the Reish Lakish. As Rabbi Lezer, it's difficult in Rabbi Lezer to say the difference is mida daka, mida gasa. In mida daka, yafri shalakol. If he's selling mida daka, right? So then he should have to take take off on everything. So since he has a high profit margin, we should require him to take off all the chumas and is necessary. And the Gemara does not answer the question; it leaves the question difficult. He says in Reb Chaim says that in the Bavli there's an answer to this question, that by Nachdomi they're Mako because but that's because they got beaten, and they said so which Pnei Moshe broke down. He says maybe Yerushalmi doesn't hold that way. And he says, well, maybe it's already answered Rabbi Yochanan, Bedina Yoshel Yafrish, and that's because of the small profit margin. So also according to Rabbi Elazar, I guess even if it's Daka, the profit margins are not sufficient to justify compelling him to take off the Chumas and Maisras. Okay, so that is the end of that. Then we have go on to Hachem Bani Ein Rashai Inkod Mai, which of course is the next part of the Mishnah. But that already is on the we're ready to Chabez Mouth, so we'll stop here for today.